What's up guys, Phoenix here, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys a deck profile of the deck that I'm currently running. It is also the deck that I piloted at Nationals with a couple of changes, and that deck is going to be Mermails. Mermails has been my favorite deck pretty much, actually not pretty much, it has been my favorite deck to play since Dragon Ravine got banned in January. I played Hieratic Rulers for a brief stint for January, and then as soon as February rolled around I had all the cards for it and I played this at the ARG Circuit Series in Charlotte, and I've kind of played it religiously since then in local tournaments and things like that, only to take a brief break from it to play Artifact at YCS Philly and to play Geargia at a couple of regionals around the Georgia area, and, you know, just mess around with that. But I did play Mermails at Nationals. It was a slightly different build from this, and I learned from that experience of underperformance that I had, and made some changes to the deck accordingly to hopefully allow me to do better in the future at certain events. I'm not sure on how well this deck is going to compete in the post-duelist alliance format with Shaddolls and Tellarknights running around. I feel like this deck has a pretty good Shaddol matchup in the form of, like, because the only card that really inhibits you is Midrash, and you have cards like Lead and things like that to get over it. You can easily get to the lead without having to special summon more than once a turn, and you can easily set up plays. It makes your sphere plays kind of awkward with a Midrash on board, but then you can just sphere straight to the lead, and then make plays afterwards. So I'm not sure yet. I haven't gotten it fully 100% figured out in the post-Duelist Alliance format. But for right now, this is pretty much how I've been playing the deck, and I really like the results that it has been giving me. So we're going to go around to the deck. I play one Abyss Lead, one Title. This card is unfair. The fact that the deck has access to it is extremely unfair. The one Megalo, you don't want to play on all or nothing playstyle with this deck, and the one Megalo lets you sort of limit that without you having a choice. Triple Teus, Triple Pike, one Turge. You don't have to run this if you don't want to. I like to run it because I like, the gun loops and all those types of things. Also, just having the additional level 4 to go into off of your Lind plays, and recycling Unnines has actually been relevant sometimes. And recycling Lind is always relevant with this guy. But then triple Lind, one Osha. Usually once you do your Osha play with Teus, you usually just get the one Turge out of the deck and then you're set up for your other nonsense. The one Guns, one Elanian Dragoons, and two Marksmen. This deck is a combo deck, but it likes to simplify the game states, but not too heavily. Like, you don't want to oversimplify the game state, because this deck doesn't really thrive in a simplified game state. You essentially want to use your cards as strip away cards from your opponent while maintaining your own. Maxing out on Marksman and cards like that just gives you less of a chance to stay out of a simplified game state yourself while putting your opponent into one. The main thing you want to do is you want to combo with this deck and put your opponent into a simplified game state while you are not in one. You want to put your opponent down to minimal resource, simplified game states, things like that, while you maintain at least like 5 or 6 cards, sometimes more. You never want to force yourself down to the old playstyle Mermails had back when Dragoons was at 3. It was essentially all or nothing plays everywhere, and you would be at a simplified game state along with your opponent, but your cards were just bigger in the form of like Gaios, Lead, all those. That's not a playstyle you want to stick to with this deck anymore. I'm playing 2 Aqua Spirits. Not a lot of people were running this, and I wasn't running this at Nationals. But my losses were pretty much attributed to not being able to make plays quickly and responsibly enough. And this kind of helps that. And I had been justifying not running this card for the longest time, saying that, like, this card was played to give you more plays before Soul Charge, pre-Soul Charge. Then, after Soul Charge, this card, I was justifying not running it by saying Soul Charge is basically all the plays this card could do and give you, but better. But then I sat down and thought about it. I was like, but you can have those Soul Charge plays and then still have these plays, and if you have a Soul Charge play with this, it becomes that much more, intense of a play. The plays become just really insanely good, especially doing things like banishing Dragoons off this and then leviating it back and overlaying into 101, Dweller, Bahamut Shark. Any of those sorts of plays are really relevant, and going your Teus plays with this is really cool. Because I'm not the biggest fan of hills. You draw that card, and it's a card that you never want to see in your hand. You draw it at inopportune times, you open with it, and you have to do an awkward string of plays. I don't like Hild at all. So the Aqua Spirit plays are enough at this point in time. Double Undyne and double Controller for the remaining monsters. I do not like 3 Undyne, 2 Controller ratio, because of the fact that, like, if you open a Controller, that means you have 1 Undyne left in your deck that's dead. With this version, if you're running 3 Undyne, 2 Controller, as soon as you open one of the controllers, you now have only 1 live Undyne, and you have 2 dead cards in your deck. I understand they're not completely dead, because you can, discard them with Pike, with Megalo, with all those cards. I understand that if you draw the Undyne, it's never going to be 100% dead, because you can just discard it. But, like, still, it's better to have live Undynes than just using them as discard fodder. So 2 and 2 is the proper ratio, I believe. I've never been a fan of 3 and 2. 3 and 3 I've never actually tested, but that just seems OD. It just seems way too unnecessary. But that's the monsters. There's 24 of them. For spells, triple Upstart Goblin, 1 Allure of Darkness, double Soul Charge. I don't like 3 because 3 clogs. If I wasn't playing the Aqua Spirits, I'd probably play the 3rd Soul Charge in its place. 1 Mind Control, because this thing is just outright insane against Hat and Geargia, especially like if you take their Ice Hand and overlay it with your guy into Abyss Dweller or things like that. Taking Hands is great, taking Armors is better. Taking Accelerators is really good. Just taking any level 4 in general. It's also great against Dragon Rulers, because you can just take their Dragon Ruler if they leave one out. Combine it with your Teus Megalo lead or title, make your own Draco Sack, make your own Big Eye. Things of that nature. This card is just really, really, really good. The 1 Book of Moon for the last spell, the card's really good because it can't be wiretapped. And then there's 8 traps, triple Sphere, double Breakthrough Skill. I used to be on the fence about this card in Mermails. I played it at Nationals, and I was still on the fence afterwards. But I really like it. Like, it's just, this deck struggles getting over things like, first turn Felgrands and things like that. And this just gives you the double utility of it. And also being good against Mortal-Tech, and being a double use against Mortal-Tech is very relevant. It's extremely relevant, actually. Not just very, but extremely. But then, just lastly, the 1-ups, Torrential Bottomless, and Warning. So it's a 40-card deck with triple Upstart and Allure to just help you dig. Resolving Allure of Darkness is the dream, and I want to resolve it every single game. But I never want to draw Controller. I want to always search Controller and Allure. If I could find room for triple Reckless in this deck, I would definitely do it. But then the extra deck, the obligatory Leo and Black Rose, Gaios, Draco, and Big Eye for the 6s, Bahamut Shark, 101, Exciton, Lavalval Chain, Digesto Emerald. I really like this card because I like to recycle the pikes. If I've established the gun to loot, then I like to make Emerald off like my last pike access. Shuffle 2 pikes and 1 marksman back in, and then protect this for the next turn if I can. But if I can't, then I've still set up the gun thing for at least 2 more tries, and then having another marksman to go into. 1 Abyss Dweller. I want to up this to 2, but there's just like no room. I also want to up Abyss Trite to 2, but there's still just like 0 room. Then 1 number 80 Rhapsody and Berserk. This card is amazing, especially like against Boojans or whatever. Like, you banish their turtle, you force their hair, you do whatever, and like you can equip this to Gaios and have a 4,000 attack Gaios. You can equip it to a lot of different stuff, like having Dweller be 22 plus 12, being 34. Just things like that are always relevant. And then for rank 3s, Leviair, Anganir, and Abyss Trite. Like I said, I want to find room for a second one of these, but like it doesn't seem necessary completely because you aren't opening the Teus Aqua Spirit combo every game, and when you are, you usually are able to follow it up with a whatchamacallit, I can't think. You're usually able to follow it up with a Emerald, that card. But then also, like, if you open like Teus Lind and Aqua Spirit, you're never really going into Anganir anyway, because if you have the Lind in your hand with the Teus and the Aqua Spirit, then you're going to be banishing the Lind that you discarded off the Teus for Aqua Spirit, and then you're going to Leviair with your 2/3s instead of Anganir, so that way your ending field would be Leviair, Lind, Bahamut, Trite. So things like that. I've never really seen the need for a la carte in this deck. It never comes up for me. I'm usually very efficient with my marksman cops, but I'm sure it'll come up eventually, and then when it does, I'll think about running it, and then probably won't at the end of the day. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. Well, I believe so, unless there's anything else I need to talk about. I'm not doing side deck because I haven't figured out this format completely yet, and it's about to change. So yeah, I believe that's it. As always, guys, remember to comment, rate, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. Click an ad if you have not. I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps me make money, and there's no reason to lie to you guys about that. It also just gives me a little added incentive to continue making videos for you guys to see. If there's anything you'd like to see in future videos, drop a comment down below, and I'll try my best to address it. You could also go and message me on my Facebook fan page that a link to is in the description down below. I'm still working on making a new account that I can actually have as a functioning account in parallel to my main one, so that y'all don't have to go through the fan page. You can just go straight to, a Facebook page where you can just straight up message me and do all that. So that's still in the works. I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. But until next time, guys, take care.